Hello, I'm Mr. Alex from the Dorchester County Public Library, and today I'll be reading John Henry versus the Mighty Steam Drill by Cari, Meister. The night John Henry was born, the skies turned black and rumbled. In fact, the very moment John Henry took his first breath, a bolt of lightning struck a giant sycamore tree. Oh lordy, was John Henry a mighty fine babe. His legs were the size of tree trunks, and his arms, they were as long as the kitchen table. But most surprising of all was what he clutched in his newborn baby hand, a 10-pound steel driving hammer. See the hammer? Yes, sirree. John Henry used that hammer. Bang! He built a fort when he was just 3 years old. Clang! At the age of 6, John Henry built a road. Clank! By the time he was 9 years old, he carved a statue from a mountain. John was always singing while he was hammering away. I was born with the hammer in my hand, oh yeah. I was born with the hammer in my hand. Got me a hammer in my hand, yes sir. Got a fine hammer in my hand. When John turned 14, he said to his daddy, I heard they be needing some good strong men to work on the railroad. I reckon they could use my help. Yes sir. I reckon they could use my help. So his mama cooked up a fine farewell feast. When he was as stuffed as a turkey on Thanksgiving Day, John Henry set off to find the railroad camp. Well, John hadn't gotten too far away when he heard all kinds of screaming and shouting. A hospital was burning down and people were trapped inside. Faster than a jackrabbit, John Henry used his hammer to pound through them walls. He carried out every man, woman, and child. As John Henry continued on his way, he felt obliged to help others. Bang! He built 243 homes for the poor. Bang! He saved people from a terrible rock slide. Clang! He built a bridge across the Allegheny River. All the while, John was singing away. I was born with the hammer in my hand, oh yeah. I was born with the hammer in my hand. Got me a hammer in my hand, yes sir. Got a fine hammer in my hand. Finally, John Henry saw it. The C&O Railroad work camp. He heard banging and clanging and workers singing. His skin started to prickle, for he knew this was the life for him. He rushed over to the captain. My name's John Henry, sir, and I'm a steel driving man, he said. No hammer on this good old earth rings like mine. No, sir. No hammer rings quite like mine. Captain Tommy smiled as wide as my granny's bottom and said, use that hammer of yours, my son. Drive those stakes into rock. John Henry drove those steel stakes into the mountain, day after day, year after year. He did more work in one day than any other man did in a week. He worked so fast, his hammer caught fire several times a day. Whew. Of course, he was always smiling and singing too. My name is John Henry, and I'm a steel driving man. Got me a hammer in my hand, oh yeah. Got a fine hammer in my hand. One day, a man from the C&O approached Captain Tommy. This here steam drill can drive holes into rock quick as lightning, he said. This machine will do the work of 100 men. The workers looked mighty worried. Where would they find work if the machine took away their jobs? The men looked at John Henry, and John Henry knew just what to do. Now, don't you worry, friends, John said. Don't you worry a bit. Before that steam drill will beat me down, I'll die with a hammer in my hand, oh yeah? I'll die with a hammer in my hand. John turned to the man and said, I've got a deal for you, yes, sir. I've got a deal for you. The man listened to John's proposition real good. And this is how it went. If John Henry could clear more rock than the steam drill in one day, then the man and his machine would turn tail and head home. The next morning, John was polishing up his 20-pound hammer. The railroad man oiled his machine. The crowd gathered. And when that shot fired, John Henry jumped on top of the mountain. The railroad man started the steam drill. All day, John Henry kept hammering away and filling his holes with dynamite. Bing, bang, clang. The steam drill was working away too. Whiz, hiss, plink. But no one could tell who was winning. As the sun set, the finishing shot rang out. John came down from the top of the mountain. The railroad man stopped the hissing machine. The captain got out his tape measure. John Henry sunk a 14-foot hole, he yelled, and the steam drills is only 9 feet deep. As the crowd cheered, but John Henry was worn out. He fell down, clutching his hammer to his chest. Captain Tommy held John Henry's head and looked into his eyes. That was a mighty fine job you did, John Henry. I've beat him, Captain Tommy. I've beat him to the bottom. John Henry kissed his hammer, groaned, and closed his eyes. Anytime a train rumbles by that spot, passengers salute that still driving man, yes, sir. They praise John Henry, the still driving man.